So the future of manufacturing in space is here. The SpaceX Starfall program has immense potential to transform both space manufacturing and low Earth orbit space transport for civilian and military purposes. I have Brian Wang with me today for a deep dive on Starfall. Brian is a futurist thought leader and runs a prominent science blog, nextbigfuture.com. Welcome, Brian. Great to have you back.
Great to be here. I think Starfall is far bigger than what you just described. But yeah, that's the first market that they're going at. Yes.
Absolutely. We're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and you have a deck of slides. So this is really exciting because we've had a successful first of two test launches that the FAA has cleared. Take us through what you have, Brian, please.
Okay, so in terms of what I think it is, will become the beginning of 1 hour anywhere. It's basically the last mile for return from space. So Starship revolutionizes reusable, low cost, ultra low cost, going to space, right? But then you want a round trip. You want to come back and place things and people anywhere, right? And so thus you need Starfall for that. If I want space hotels, I need Starfall. If I want passenger rockets taking you anywhere, you need a version of Starfall. So I'll go over that in more detail later. But first, we'll go over. Before we go, so this version is about 2,000 tons of mass, so about 2 tons, and then it can hold 1 ton, so 3 tons total. It's a heat shield, and it has a container on it, and it also has cold thrusters, which are weaker, safer thrusters, been around for decades, and parachutes will be in there. But each one of these things is more profound than just a list of what's going on. But first,
so size-wise, this is what, about 3 meters in diameter by about 0.75 meters in height.
2.5 meters. So yeah, about 3 meters wide. Inside of 2.5 meters, and inside about half meter. Total is 0.75 meters. But you can change the dimensions. Nothing about this says you must do it this way in that size.
Okay. But yeah. the capsule that went up was this size, and it went up on a Falcon 9. But it's also, before we get into the details, I just wanted to ask you, do you think this configuration is what we will finally see for Starship? Because you can have it 3 to 4 of these capsules per layer in a bigger PEZ dispenser in Starship, right?
Right. Yeah, you could fit probably, like 4, maybe even 6 in one layer. I think,
and then stacked up on each other.
You could stack them up, right? And you could have a total by mass of about like 90 tons in a 100-ton payload system that we have currently for version 3. When we double that up to 200 tons, then you can have like 65 of these things if you're just like totally filling them up with this and some kind of dispensing system, right?
Okay.
I would think that while you have Falcon 9 and Starship going at the same time, there is a benefit to having a standardized system that is used most of the time at that smaller size. But clearly you could have like an 8-meter diameter, or a 7-meter diameter version that would be for Starship only, right? So you have a bigger version. You can have a bigger Starship only version. That would be,
because the Starship payload bay diameter is about 9 meters, and you need a little room for whatever the structure is.
The edge structure is around, edge structure depends on it and all that kind of stuff. So you can make a far larger version for Starship, and I could see them having, 3 to 6 different sizes depending upon the use case.
Right. So it's very interesting that the launch, they didn't, when we were watching the launch, they didn't really show the deployment of the second stage and of this capsule, right? And that's pretty much like they do with sensitive payloads like defense satellites, etc., that Falcon 9 launches. So it kind of also tells us that this is dual use, right?
Right,
That
yeah. They've been paid $200 million by the U.S. military to have deliver military payloads anywhere within 1 hour, right? So this is the means, because before you're thinking, well, how do you land? Even if you have a Starship, how do you land this 1 hour anywhere thing? I need to have a catch tower, or I need to have a big drone ship in order to catch the receiving end. So that's not anywhere. But if you just launch and then release this at the right point, then this can guide itself to the location, parachute in, just like dropping supplies we've done since World War II or before, right? Where it's like I got some the airborne commandos or whatever like that, and then I'm dropping supplies to commandos. I'm parachuting in a bunch of material, right? So here I can parachute.
This is like a godsend for the U.S. Special Operations Command, where you can just drop in all the hardware, the military hardware that you need, and just have your human assets go elsewhere.
Right.
The cold gas thrusters would also be really useful in guiding this to the target point, right?
Right. Yes, it would be. Yeah. So it's useful at the top where you're shaping your reentry point. So how you hit reentry matters, because you can go off 100 miles in either direction if you don't shape that. So you're using these for navigation, and the precise navigation control has been done by cold thrusters historically, right?
Yeah.
And but you can also have regular thrusters. The difference is these are cheaper and safer and less complex than other ones, but they're just less powerful, right? But if you can do what you need to do, and the other thing would be that if you have it at the end where you want to, target your parachute, they have guided parachutes for the fairing. That I'm going to show that later, right? But then if you combine that with thrusters, you could with very little fuel, right? I only have like 50 pounds of fuel or whatever like that. I can only drive for a few minutes. Well, in those few minutes, I can go 6 miles, right? I can get precisely to the location I want to get. It's called, precision downrange movement, right? So it's coming in downrange and it's moving in, and I'm changing the angle, how I'm gliding in, and then which direction I'm going, left and right, so then you can very easily guide yourself to the right point with very little fuel, right? Because all these things are, mass and efficiency dependent, well, the cost dependent, right? Okay, so I'm saying it's 1 hour anywhere last mile, and we've gone over some of that. The parachutes and the thrusters enable you to guide where you're going to go with not that much fuel. Okay. So this is the recovery of it. They had a ship, it landed in the ocean, right? And then that little covered thing is the 3-meter thing that they picked up. So they, they had one of their drone ships or whatever, and they went and caught it, right? Picked up from the ocean. So it worked. So one of the things is I talked about guided parachutes. We recovered over 300 fairings. The fairings at the top of the Falcon 9. We have 2 clamshells, and they split apart as you're launching. You clear the atmosphere 60 miles up, these things pop off, and then they float down, and they use parachutes to dump them in the water, and then they recovered. So this has been done 300 times for specifically fairings of that. So the parachute system, the guided parachute system, is very proven. Okay. So what else is proven? Heat shield, the first Apollo Mercury capsules, the first, Soyuz and whatever other capsules, they all used heat shields. Everything has used heat shields. The shuttle used a heat shield, but they had to rebuild it every time, right? So then they got away from using parachutes, but pretty much them and the Falcon 9 are the only things that don't use parachutes, right? So the heat shield, all this stuff has been used over and over again. So this is not new technology. The difference is making it really, really cheap, right? Really cheap, reusable. That is not what has been done well before. They've had some kind of reusability on these things, but this is something that SpaceX has mastered. Okay, the precision parachute, again, since 2018, 300 times we've been doing it, right, for 8 years. Reusable heat shield and Starship. So we have now reusable heat shield that we've done many times on Starship. Had some issues with it, but now it looks like they're solved with version 3. And that heat shield is very inexpensive because you're covering this giant Starship with heat shield, right? It's like, 40 meters tall, 9 meters wide, right? You have like 360 or 400 cubic meters of heat shield. I only need like 1 cubic meter, or like, no, sorry, I would need like 10 cubic meters for this thing, right? And I can make a bigger one and it's still less. And the heat shield total cost is, probably on the Starship, a couple $1,000,000 or less. And then for this one, it's going to be like $100,000 or less, or 20,000. That's a cost estimate on that. Skiable parachute, cold thrusters combined, I get my landing within 200 meters. And with cold thrusters, enough thrust, I can land on land. I don't have to land in the ocean, and I can get more uses, low cost for the military, 1 hour anywhere funded by the military first, and then these other packages, and then it'll expand to moving people and other stuff. Okay, the cold gas thrusters, they're just simpler, they're weaker, again, used for many, many decades. They're considered simpler and just lower power. But if I want to mass produce these things, simpler and cheaper is good, right? So it's a design choice to use. I could have used regular thrusters. I use cold thrusters for the low cost. It works. It's not like I have a new technology. I just decided this is good enough.
Yeah.
And there's no chance of explosion because I'm using just, nitrogen gas or something like that. It's not like I'm using two fuels. I'm using oxygen, something else that can explode. I'm using
and
nitrogen.
that's really important for the cargo.
Right. So I got safe. It's safer, cheaper, all that kind of stuff. So again, this parachute heat shield thing is the regular way that we've been doing things. If you watch the movie Apollo 13, at the end, the astronauts coming in with the triple parachute thing, that was the way we did it, right? And we still do.
Yeah.
And then this
with
is a Soyuz capsule. Yeah. A Soyuz capsule has thrusters at the very end. They use thrusters at the very end. So instead of coming in at 15 miles per hour, I'm coming in at like 3 miles per hour, or like 4 miles per hour, right?
So it's a very cushioned soft landing at the end.
A cushioned soft landing at the end, right? So I can land on land. I don't have to go to an ocean thing if I have thrusters at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's look at the cost. So I think the heat shield tiles can be had for $20K to $100K, especially in volume production. You get to $20K. Primary structure, aluminum, carbon fiber, again, $39K. All in cost, I think, under $500,000, and then maybe under $200,000. When we're doing a lot of these things, right?
And will these be reusable?
Yes, they'll be reusable.
Potentially, yes.
Totally, yes.
Okay.
This thing, I think that they can reuse that. I think it came in nice, and they can reuse it. We use Dragon.
Yeah.
Right. They've been reusing Dragon as well.
So that stands out to me, Brian, is that there are so many of these component technologies that have existed for a while. They're just being reassembled and repurposed in a capsule form. That has been a vertical business that has kind of been hidden in plain sight for Tesla, for SpaceX, sorry. And I think the potential of this business in terms of strategic importance and also business earnings is really, really underappreciated.
Right. Because if I'm bringing these up, so if they cost less than $500,000, right?
Yeah.
So I can toss, and they're reusable. I can make a inventory of 100 of these things, right? And I could use, 10 of them a week, right? And I could bring back 20 tons of material every week. So I launch a bunch of them, and then eventually, they come back next week. I could have a stream where I bring back 20 of them, or even 100 of them every week. So I can bring back 20 tons, 100 tons. I don't have to have a special use my Soyuz return version, or maybe my Dragon, or use my Starship, these things just come back by themselves, right? So that means I can have this steady stream of stuff operationally, bringing things back for ultra low cost, right? Again, driving the cost down and doing the mass production, right? So then what are we making up there? We're making like ultra pure optical fiber, right? Optical fiber is used for other things, but you can, in microgravity, you can make it, ultra low defects. They have already done that on the ISS, right? They've done that space station. They've sent up other systems. The question was, yes, it's worth, I don't know, $1 million a kilogram or $5,000 a kilogram, but if I can bring back 20 tons, per week, 100,000 tons per month, now that's $100 million a month business at $1,000 a kilogram, right? So actually $1,000 per kilogram, so $100 million. So you can get to serious business with this, and it can also bring back large volumes of better medicines. You can make medicines better up in orbit. So there's various things that we know we can make, and that's what they discuss first, because they will probably scale that up to multiple $billion of business next year, the year after, probably a year after.
And it's important to note that the ISS is being retired around 2030, correct? It's been our lab in the sky. It's been a laboratory in the sky for all sorts of research, all sorts of manufacturing, right from 3D printing of human tissue for organs that can only be done in microgravity, to research on tardigrades, to 3D printing of metals and other, and even testing out how plants respond to space and how other living creatures, organisms respond to space. So much of what our lives are made up of today is a direct or indirect product of space research and space technology. So a lot of the concerns about the retiring of the ISS by 2030 is now practically dealt with as far as research and manufacturing is concerned, thanks to Starfall. And I think this, again, is a really underappreciated bit.
Yeah. It's going to scale up how much science we do up in space, as well as all these manufacturing. The volume can go up 100,000 times to commercially relevant levels.
And also strategically, Brian, the only competitor to the ISS is the Chinese Tiangong space station, right? So for America to then have long-term abilities to manufacture and research in space, this is critical.
Right. Yes. It's we want to get the science activity and the manufacturing production, and if you make it up there, you want to bring it back. This is the cheap bring it back thing. Cheap going up, cheap coming back, and high volume coming back.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. Let's go back to your slides.
Yeah. So this is, again, making the case that this can be very, very low cost, which is, again, another SpaceX breakthrough, right? If you can make it really low cost, it changes everything, right? It changes everything for launch. It changes everything for return. Okay. And then, so again, this is the diameter of it, 3.1, but you can change the size, right? You can make it bigger. You can make it taller if you want to put people inside, right? But say, oh, you're going to put people inside. We put people inside capsules all the time. That's what the Dragon is. That's what the Starliner is. That's what the Apollo capsules were. All of them are heat shields with parachutes, right? Yeah. So this is the standard way we bring people back, right? To say, oh, we can't do that because it's a new product. It's like, it's the same thing, just cheaper.
So here, I have a question for you, Brian. The FAA has given SpaceX the clearance for 2 launches this year, right?
Yeah.
The first was on Falcon 9.
Yeah.
Does the second need to be on another Falcon 9, or do you think SpaceX can try the second launch on Starship?
It's going to be Falcon 9. They're not going to bother messing up what they're doing with Starship to do this, right?
Okay.
And the size is such that they don't need to do Starship. There's no need to do Starship for this thing. Although, if it totally impacted nothing, they could always toss it in as another payload and do it that way, I guess. But I think in terms of the critical path, it's doing it, using it to fulfill the Department of Defense, the $200 million contracts that they have to deliver payloads everywhere, and then to do that on a regular basis.
Okay, so by extension, that's also great news for the Falcon 9 space vehicle, right? Because there's a lot of talk about what's the value of the Falcon 9 once Starship is in full cadence.
Right. Well, the thing is, I'm thinking you're doing Starship for what only Starship can do, which is pretty much all launches for version 3 communication satellites, high-speed internet or direct-to-cell phone, and then all Starship launches for the AI satellites, right? Because AI satellites can't go up on the economically useful AI satellites cannot go up on the Falcon 9, right? You have to do it with Starship. So I'm sending up Starship stuff that is critical for the revenue use case there. I'm also going to be using Starship launches for the Artemis missions. Those are only Starship only. So then, this spillover stuff goes over to Falcon 9 for a few years before we have enough supply of Starship.
So how long do you think the Falcon 9 will be a viable vehicle? I mean, that because there's so much of research, so much of money, so much of energy that's gone into developing this workhorse of SpaceX.
It will be supplanted by Starship in terms of volume launch to space probably next year. So it will still be doing stuff. Like if I had 160 launches of Starship of Falcon 9 last year. I've done 70 launches this year, right? So it's still going strong, right? But when I do say 100 Starship launches next year, right? And the goal is probably to do 150 Starship launches next year. Then I'm launching 15,000 tons of Starship. Yeah. I'm launching 3,000 tons, 4,000 tons on Falcon 9. So it will be secondary in terms of economic importance and all that kind of stuff. But for missions like this, for the military, for competitors who they're launching for, like Amazon and AST Space Mobile, they will need Falcon 9. So as Starship grows from 100 launches, 500 launches, 2,000 launches per year, there will still be the need for Falcon 9 because these companies will not change, and the Department of Defense won't necessarily change all their satellite development and say, let me convert this into a Starship ready thing. So the legacy need for Falcon 9 could last 8 years or something, 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. But
incidentally, so this is the launch, the Falcon 9 launch for Starfall, and I think if I remember correctly, the booster on this vehicle, this was the 29th flight of the booster.
Right.
So that's crazy.
Right. We've had 35, I think, launches, reuses of some of the boosters. I think 3 have been used 30 to 35 times. And so we're heading to 40 and 50 times usage for these things. Yes.
And that has a direct correlation with bringing down the cost of Mars to orbit reusability.
Right. It makes everything cheaper for them. Right. Because the advertising. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing is that the cold thrusters are also being used in the new Roadster, right? So that means you can use low speed cold thrusters to maneuver a 2-ton, similar to the 3-ton vehicle that I'm doing. So you have precision control that you're practicing on these things. So that, if this thing can land on your driveway, your Roadster can land on your driveway after driving 2 or 3 miles, right? Then you could land your Starfall on the driveway because roughly the same mass and system that we're talking about here. So then the aluminum top is again a very simple structure on this thing. I don't have the slides on some other things, but you can take the slides down. So I have some other graphics about it, but I can just explain it. Why is this critical for space hotels and for space and for Earth-to-Earth tourism?
Yeah, I was curious about that.
Okay, it's because if you remember the Titanic, right? Giant ship, and then it sank, right? And then it was a huge disaster because a bunch of people drowned. A bunch of people drowned because they only had, I think, 1 lifeboat for every 3 people.
Yeah.
right? So if I have really expensive escape pods, right? Then, like one right now, the only escape pod we have on these things is a Dragon.
Is a Dragon,
right?
yeah.
Right. If I'm bringing people up, it's in a Dragon. Dragon costs $100 million, right? And I have enough for 6 people, right? If I want to send up, 300 people in one Starship, one giant Starship, 300 people, right? Then I need to have some means to get them out mid-flight. I need some means to get them out when I'm up top, right? And I want to have ideally, a space for everyone in the escape pods. So if I did that with Dragon I think weighs 10 tons. So I could somehow, if I could somehow figure out some configuration where I could fly 10 of them, I could fly 60 people. And those 10 things would cost like $1 billion, right? Versus if I have these modified to make them slightly bigger, maybe have 3 or 4 people per, right?
Yeah.
I could have, for $100 million versus $1 billion, I could have capsules for everyone. And I may be able to bring that cost down to, like 20 million, $50 million, right? So I cannot go too high. And the other thing is, if I have a giant space station, we're bringing up 1 million tons of AI stuff, AI data centers up into space, all these satellites. Let's also leave 10 starships up there. So 10 starships would, if you connect them, right, they could be rotating. So then you have simulated gravity, right? And they would have 10 times the volume of the International Space Station, because each one of the starships has the volume of the International Space Station, right? So then I have like 50 people in each one, right? So I have 500 people up there, right? If I only have one starship, right, it will take me like 15 minutes to get from one of the outside starships, going through connecting tubes and stuff like that, to get over to the evacuation starship, right? If I get hit by a bunch of meteors, right, I don't have 15 minutes to get to the evacuation, right? You can imagine a movie. The giant space station has been hit by stuff, and you're racing, climbing down ladders, trying to get over to it. They're dead, right?
There's no time.
You're setting yourself up for a Titanic disaster, right? But if I have every one of them have a bunch of these escape pods all around the outside,
escape pods,
and right, then I could be like 20 feet away from the escape pod. Every time I look down the hallway, or look down the level of my starship, I have my escape pod right there, right? So if something goes wrong, so I cannot scale up to lots of people in a space station, a big space station, if I don't have the escape pod problem solved. This is the solution to the escape pod problem. Okay. Other thing is that we have the graphic of Starship taking off from Singapore and landing in New York, right? Just the upper stage, going at Mach 20, getting anywhere in the world in an hour, right? If I'm moving people around on Earth, I'm moving 100 people per Starship. If I'm flying up in the air, something goes wrong, how do they get out? Right? It's not like a plane where I have the engine and maybe I glide in and I can get a Miracle on the Hudson kind of thing landing. I have no hope unless I can release things that can go at handle the heat of Mach 5, Mach 20.
Re-entry.
And then re-enter, like go through that high-speed zone and then land, right? Also, if I'm taking up the 500 people up to the space station, I'm taking up 100 people. Again, I'm launching. 1 in 1,000 launches goes wrong. 1 in 10,000 launches go wrong. How do we get out? Right? We have no means of getting out. Right? So this is again that. Anything where we say, and then we want to do a lot of people up in space, a lot of people moving around by rocket, you need to have a way to go from, I'm going Mach 20, I'm going Mach 30, and then I'm going to get out, go through that high speed zone, get to low speed, and then land lightly. This is how you do that.
I think the insurance side of space travel and tourism as a business is underestimated. Just take a look at the Strait of Hormuz and what happened with shipping lanes, and how rising insurance costs really crippled transportation of goods and oil and gas because of the dangers. And then think about the space transportation and space tourism business, and it's all about that. It's all about the insurance plan, the escape plan, and you're right. This is incredibly central to preserving life.
And besides the safety aspects, there's also the infrastructure economics thing of making a large scale transportation of cargo of people, right? So I can launch easily. Okay, I get 10 launch towers, 10 sites, and I'm launching 100, 1,000 times a year, 3 times per day, right? But then where am I taking some stuff on the ground, taking people, taking things, right? If I have to build a $100 million, billion-dollar catch facility everywhere I want to bring stuff, that's going to take me forever. It can happen. I can have all this money, but it'd be like 2040, 2050, right? I can have all this infrastructure, can do stuff. But here, I launch 100 people. I'm leaving San Francisco. I'm going to fly over to Asia, right? Instead of only landing in, say, Tokyo or Shanghai, right? I can then drop people off. This pod goes to Seoul, Korea. This pod goes to Taipei. This pod goes to Vietnam. This pod goes to the Philippines, right? So then they can all receive their people, or they can all receive their packages, cargo, right? So then you can drop it off. It's like a magic Santa Claus.
So how long before Amazon deals? How long before Amazon ties up with SpaceX for this?
Probably 2-3 years. It'd be like FedEx, UPS, and Amazon. Yeah,
everybody.
Well, if you have an urgent delivery infrastructure already, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm landing at warehouses, right? If I'm sorting facility at warehouses, I want to go from sorting facility to sorting facility. I sort out, here's my stuff going international, and then I would have a rocket take off. So I'd say 3 to 5 years.
Each of those warehouses becomes like a transportation hub for space transport, and then it's laterally distributed through the distribution network on surface.
Right, and then you receive other ones, for your zone, right? So I'm distributing around Southeast Asia. So I have a reception center, and then you distribute out normally once I get there. But the continent part gets taken up by this. So then I save the 12 hours and get it out. So I have to have, I'm tapping into the existing sorting and then unsorting and then delivery, right? So this is, again, a key part. Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. I can't wait to see the starting.
Right. And then there'll be,
do you think, how far away do you think this is from being a reality?
Well, they're starting with the part of scaling up to, a few dozen, a few hundred, and then doing the microgravity stuff, because there I'm paying for something that's $1,000, $10,000 per kilogram. So I take the premium stuff first, scale up and do that. Also the military cargo, right? Do those things first, and then transition over to the other markets and scale it bigger and bigger. Probably the next markets after that might be, well, you do higher and higher volume of the microgravity things, and then it's like, what is the most urgent, relatively high volume thing on Earth, which might be, I don't know, transporting kidneys around, or you
could just have the future of human organs for transplants printed in space, because of microgravity that allows for complex vascularity to be built into organs that are grown or 3D printed in space, because you can't do that on Earth because of gravity. It's
but the more mundane,
immense. The potential is immense.
The more mundane way to think about it is you have regular cargo transportation, regular postal service, regular shipping, right? Ground shipment, and that's like a $1 trillion business or $500 billion business. And then a $100 billion, $200 million business is the FedEx, UPS 1 day overnight or 1-2 day delivery. And then you have some that 1-2 day delivery international, but sometimes even then it's not always 1 day, it might be 2 days, right? But what is the 1% of that for people pay even more to get it there in an hour or to get there in
absolutely.
4 hours.
Express shipping.
That would be the ultra express shipping market would be the next one that you would take over. After the unique, only this method can do it, only this cargo, to I'm taking a chunk, a more valuable chunk of the urgent delivery market, creating an urgent delivery market where, do I have stuff that is more urgent than 1 day?
Yeah.
Whereas it's only 4 hours and then only 1 hour. Yeah.
Oh boy. This is crazy. This is so exciting. I've been waiting to have this chat with you, Brian. Thank you so much. We'll leave it at that for now. But I think over time, this deserves a deeper dive into the verticals of the business models that are possible, with Starfall supporting all of that. And that would be really great to get into, because you have everything from, the military interest to civilian use in space manufacturing, transport, logistics, just everything, even space tourism, as you said, the escape plan. So great, as always, chatting with you, Brian. Thank you for all the deep dive info that you share with me and my audience. Thank you. Till next time.
Bye-bye.